Hey, what's going on? Nick Unsworth from lifeonfire.com, and I'm just cruising up to Del Mar right out here in San Diego, and I'm very excited because I'm going to be interviewing the one and only celebrity interviewer who is chief editor for Risen magazine. She's on the San Diego 6 News out here, and she is an absolute rock star celebrity, and she's interviewed people like Leonardo DiCaprio, Robert De Niro, Tom Hanks, just big time celebrities. And what I'm excited about is she's going to be sharing her journey, and it's also going to highlight what a life on fire looks like that's on a different path. She figured out her purpose, figured out what she's great at, and she's got an amazing life, and she's going to share some tips on that. And I think what's cool is that sometimes a life on fire is not just an entrepreneurial path. It can be a career path and can totally crush it and go that direction. So Kelli Gillespie Richardson, she is an absolute rock star. Very privileged to have her on as a guest today, and stay tuned. This is going to be an epic episode. Hey, what's going on? Nick Unsworth here, and I'm a kick-ass business coach, and I'm on an absolute mission to help you find your purpose in life, to help you love what you do for work every single day, to help you be the rock star that you are meant to be, to make more money than you ever thought was possible, and to have more time freedom so you can actually enjoy the life that you're living. I'm here to help you set your life on fire. All right. So I'm super excited about to interview the interviewer. So no pressure, just, this is just what she does for a living and does it for some of the biggest celebrities in the world. But I'm super excited because this is going to really highlight how to interview other people. We've got a lot of you guys are into podcasting and interviewing other experts. So we're going to pull out lots and lots of nuggets. And so her story is just jaw-dropping. She's got such great wisdom to share. So follow me, let's bust in there and let's make this happen. Hello.
Hey, good to see
What's going on?
Welcome to Risen.
Thank you. Glad to be here. This is going to be an awesome episode of Life on Fire TV. So welcome to the show.
Thanks for having me.
I'd love to take a look at the wall here and tell us about what is going on.
So this is basically the past decade of Risen. You can see starting from our early issues with Alice Cooper all the way through to our Duck Dynasty and Tim Howard, the USA soccer goalie from our World Cup issue. It's gone through a few different kind of identities, but sticking mainly with kind of the faith, hope, love tagline that is Risen, and focusing on kind of athletes, actors, entertainers, motivational speakers, all the big influencers. And
I love like the description with Risen, like, it's what the soul, not the shoe, and just like the things of how you bring it out of, of these stories and how it's to help overcome struggles and life challenges. So super cool. And so basically, this is a magazine that goes out. And so how do these, like with the interviews, like how do you choose the celebrity guests and what kind of goes into who you're picking for these?
So the magazine's quarterly, the print magazine's quarterly, and then we do online articles throughout the year as well. The goal that I have kind of with the magazine as far as the readership and stories that we see is that I hope that after you pick it up that you're either encouraged or inspired, or you think like, oh, okay, I can take on this challenge because somebody else was able to do it too. So a lot of them are very much driven by things that have gone on in their own lives. So when I'm looking for cover stories, I'm looking for recognizable talent, and it can be in any, any spectrum, so to speak. Like we've got President Jimmy Carter there for like political side of things, to Black Eyed Peas and will.i.am, to the Cy Young winner, pitcher for the Dodgers, Clayton Kershaw. So anyone that has a story that's worth sharing, because a lot of it's rooted either in positivity or the way that faith has helped them overcome something, or it's like such a juxtaposition between what their career is versus how they live their normal life, like an Alice Cooper, right, an Ozzy Osbourne. You see one presentation through what media gives you, and then you meet
You're like, is that really how they live?
Yeah, and then you meet them and you're like, oh, you're a lot more normal than maybe you're presented.
It's like a bummer. Like, really? Oh, you're normal? So the Duck Dynasty guy, I mean, is the goal with that one to inspire beards among the masses? Or?
It seems like that is
because I was gonna, right? If I did some research, but if I had known that, I would have really started working on it.
Started to grow it out. Well, even Al, the brother that's our cover, he used to be clean shaven, and to go on the show, he started growing it out
crazy.
a long time before he came in. The cool thing about Risen too is that I write a good portion of the different stories, but then we've got writers from all over the country, from Chicago to Michigan to LA to New York, just whoever has access and kind of the same heartbeat that Risen does,
cool.
then we want to engage them.
I love it. Well, I think we should grab a seat. You've got such an amazing story. So I was at this event called Pathfinders where Kelli was doing an awesome keynote, and it was one of these keynotes where it's like the whole crowd was just like fired up, and like everyone wanted to take on the world, and that's what Life on Fire is all about. Is, you know, on our side, it's to highlight the journey of someone that, you know, you found your purpose, your passion, and you're living that to the fullest. And it's like from traveling to, you know, just getting married, and just, I mean, you're the embodiment of that. And so that's what we like to highlight. And so we're going to share, you know, some of that journey and some of the struggles. And then I think what's also really unique is that many of our audience, I mean, we've got a lot of folks that build like online brands and bloggers and people that like niche down into a different industry, and a lot of people that are interviewing other people for podcasts, you know, much like how I'm doing with Life on Fire TV, and none of us have any formal training whatsoever. So I'm gonna pick your brain because I want to know. I'm like dying to, like, I've been trying to find like who can I hire to help me train on like how to interview better, and it's like, this is what she does. So I'm super excited, and so let's grab a seat.
Sure, sounds good.
All right, and we are back with Kelli Gillespie Richardson. So welcome. Excited.
Thank you.
Got a lot to dive into here today. So before we get into some of like the tactics of just like interviewing, those are things I think would be super exciting for everyone to hear about. But how did you end up, you know, in this role where you're interviewing all these celebrities and you're having this fun lifestyle where you're just traveling around the world and doing cool things that everyone would love to do? How did this happen?
Most of the time it is amazing, like you're saying. There's a lot of work that goes into it as well. But for me, it was kind of a redirection of paths. I knew when I was younger that I wanted to go into broadcasting, and that it was a love of mine to talk to people and to share their stories. I thought, what better way to spend your life? Like, obviously you feel too, you know, like if so many people have interesting stories to tell, and you'd never think of how they got from one place to another, or you would assume one thing and it's so drastically different. So that for me is what I wanted to do. And the area I felt the most comfortable in was sports. I'd grown up in the San Francisco Bay Area and had connections with the Giants team there, and just felt like, okay, this is a good place for me to be and operate. And who doesn't love going to games, right? So
was it easy for you to dive into the career?
No. It ended up being a little bit more challenging than I thought, per se. You know, you think, okay, you go to school, you get a job, but because the media field is so subjective, there's a lot of jobs in a lot of different cities, but I wasn't necessarily as open to traveling to as many of those cities as you might have to do.
And because you're from San Diego?
No, I'm from Northern California.
Oh, okay.
And I came down here for college, and then that's really when I started working.
So how could you leave this area?
How could you? I know. That's when I really started working the internship. And I said, I got to get a foot in the door somewhere. I've got to work with a station. And it was such a blessing that San Diego got 2 Super Bowls within just a few years of each other. So. And
what's the story there? I know that, so we had a cool way of meeting. So I was the guy where she did this amazing keynote. Everyone was so excited and fired up. And I was just like the whole time, like, looking at my girlfriend, I'm like, oh my gosh, I need to talk to her. And I never like being the person that's like runs up afterwards and like, hey, and like and ask for something, but I couldn't help it. I like went straight up and I was like, you would be so amazing on Life on Fire TV, and I just right up to you. But that day you just were shared like the journey and the struggle. And so what happened with like were there any challenges with getting the internship or just like
Well,
the
so
struggle?
I started in school and I got an internship with the CBS station here in San Diego, and it was with their morning show. And an interesting thing with that was I was willing to go anywhere, right? That they would use me and take me. But the morning show seemed the most fun because it has show in the title. You know, it's not just news, weather, and traffic. You've got the zoo coming on and sports and, you know, all these fun things. So I went in and interviewed and talked with them, and they were like, well, we've never had a morning show intern before. And I was like, well, why not? And they just said, well, no one's ever been willing to get up that early. And I was like, what? I mean, to me, just floored, right? And my response was, well, then you've never had anybody that really wanted the job. Because if you're not willing to get up, if what's standing between me and getting a job is a little thing as responding to my alarm, then I've got this job made, right?
It's that easy? You just have to get up early?
Yeah. It's not quite that easy, but that was the start. So they said, sure, you know, let's have you do that. And I did everything from, you know, just bringing guests in to writing a little bit of copy to observing what everyone was doing. And then in '98, the Super Bowl came to town. And independently from the station, because I wasn't credentialed, you know, to work with them, they had come through to the campuses in school and said, you know, we'd love to have volunteers for the Super Bowl. So I gathered a couple of friends. And I was like, this is our name written all over it. So we went, we were listening to, you know, kind of their spiel about what it would take to volunteer. But the person got up there at the beginning and said, just so you know, this is not to be there on game day. This is for all the surrounding things, from Taste of NFL to NFL Experience.
Like, so all the things that really aren't nearly as cool as the game day.
Yeah. So there still would be, you know, athletes around and a lot of excitement, but they were very clear that if you want to work on game day and that's your main intention, then you should just leave right now.
Yeah.
And Nick, half of the room got up and left. I could not believe it. I'm like, who are these people? They can't get up early. They only want what they want. I mean, you've got to have sacrifice and you've got to bend. So I, you know, stayed in there. I was like, well, this just is improving my odds, because I knew we're going to figure out a way to get there on game day, right? There's always a way. And I was kind of standing in the back, and there was a gentleman, older gentleman standing next to me, and he started kind of talking and struck up a conversation and said, oh, you want to go into this field? Why do you want to do that? And, you know, all these kind of just negative, but a little bit of witty humor mixed in there, sarcasm. So I said, you know, this is just one thing I need to figure out for myself. Like I'm passionate enough and I want to be there that, you know, I'm going to do whatever it takes. And he liked my attitude, and he was like, oh, okay, so you want to be there on game day? I'm like, who's this man that can grant a wish, right? And he ended up being the president of NFL on NBC. And he was like, all right, we'll get you there on game day. And the best part is, it had nothing to do with my field. I was in charge of the inflatable tunnel that literally, as the team runs on, it inflates, they run through it, and then it collapses down. But it got me access. It got me networking with people. It got me on the field.
Putting you
for
in
the
right environment
Exactly.
to connect with these people and add value for them, have conversations, like getting outside your comfort zone. And that's one of the things that we always come back to, is we think about a life on fire and like, how do you get there? And one of it, you know, we have mindset, marketing, networking, and purpose. And it sounds like you're on purpose. Like, you knew what you wanted to do from a young age. And then also it's like, from a networking, you put yourself in the right environment, have the guts to get up early, or like put yourself in the uncomfortable environments. And so what happened from that point? So
then I spent a few years at that station, and then Fox came to San Diego and they launched a morning broadcast. And so I decided to move over to that station just to gain a little bit more respect in people's eyes. So you're not just looked at as the intern that converted to now the employee, and just to, you know, get another
lose that branding.
Yeah, call letters under your belt and so forth. So went over there with every I actually went in as to produce the morning show and book all the guests, segment producer, with the intention of going back on air once that station felt that I was ready to do sports. And for whatever reason, they ended up dissolving the sports department there. and handling it through general assignment reporters. And our entertainment anchor at the time had resigned. So it was just this key opportunity, and Fred Saxon was his name. We're still friends to this day. And he was very instrumental in talking to management and really providing me that opportunity and saying, you know, she's used to dealing with publicists and agents and doesn't get starstruck and will go in there and get the right questions asked. I think that you should have her try this field.
Yeah.
Because even though it's the same skill sets, it's still a different bank of kind of memory, right? You have, you know, all the sports statistics and who the players are and what that all should look like, and that's unique within itself. To switch over to film and television, the history within that, dating back to movie stars and film dates and productions, it takes a little bit of time to catch up as well. So, but I love the genre. And for me, the main difference that then excited me was, as much as I love sports, you pretty much sit in the locker room or batting practice and sideline interviews, and it's kind of the same monotonous thing, same team, same players. Where the entertainment industry is very much changing all the time. You never know what movie's going to come out, what cast is going to be involved. It's still pretty much the same key players, and they're all moved around, but it's different dynamics, it's different storytelling, and so it just provides for better interviews. You can go deeper and cover a lot more territory than just necessarily who they are in their craft. And
so with that experience, and so it's not like in you're traveling to different places, and is that because of where the movies are premiering? And so how does travel play into that? I'm curious about like the interviews and how you drill down. Yeah, so travel ended up being, depending on how you look at it, positive or negative, right? To me, it ended up being this like total positive side effect of the whole thing. Most of the movies are premiered in New York and LA, so a lot of time spent between those. At least a couple times a month, actually. And then the studios will pick other locations that they'll just want to have fun with it and say, let's take this bigger and better. So for instance, not too long ago when Transformers premiered, they did it in Hong Kong. So I got the opportunity to fly to Hong Kong for the premiere, sit down with the cast there. I went to Egypt for a movie called Jumper with Hayden Christensen and Samuel L. Jackson, and went to Bora Bora for Vince Vaughn. Samuel L. is funny in person as I would think he is. Oh, he's a character and a half, yes. I just think of him in Pulp Fiction, like that's a tasty burger. And like, you know. He's great. He works all the time. So you see, I see him several times a year, and he's always working hard. He's got a lot of wit to him. But a lot of what you see is what you get with him. Snakes on a Plane, his idea? I don't know. He like reads the thing and he's like, oh yeah, I'm in on that one. Snakes on a mother effing plane. I always check the bathroom first before I go in there. But so all right, so you're traveling, you're like, you know, living like that life on fire, just meeting cool people, and you know, and it just sounds, you can just see how much like you love what you do for work. And so tell us about like the interview process. You know, do you go in and do you you know, is it like a lot of prep, or is that something that you just kind of love being off the cuff? And then, you know, how do you drill down and really pull out the cool insights? I would say a combination of both. So this is about my 12th year doing entertainment reporting for television and for print. And both of them have very different interview styles. On the television side, when I first started, I was all about the research. Like, I didn't know the industry as well, too, right? So any movie that was coming out, I was reading the entire production packet of like 50 pages on how it was made, where it was made, who was in it, who all the key players were, and then whatever talent I was talking to, going back in their bios, making sure, you know, that I knew everything if something were to pop up. And mind you, these aren't very long interviews that I get to do. It's not like I have 2 hours with these people, right? It's 5 to 10 minutes maybe that we're getting with each cast member that builds out into your morning. And so then for me, the reason I did all the research was I wanted when we went into an interview, for them to feel like I did my homework. I wanted them to think I'm taking this seriously, I'm prepared. I'm not just coming in and thinking like, oh my gosh, I get to meet Nick. You know, it's like, no, I want you to know that I know who you are, you know? And so
for me, that it was a confidence thing.
Yeah.
If I did that, then I can go anywhere with it. If they started talking about my shoes for 10 minutes, I can go there because I know no matter what, I have another place I can go for serious content. So I did tons of research. And then as I got more comfortable with each person, because the industry is pretty small. You know, you're working actors, you're Will Smiths, you're Meryl Streeps, you're Channing Tatums, you're, you know, fill in the blank, Christian Bale. Once you've spent, you know, 7, 8, 10 years seeing them 5, 6 times a year, you know a lot about them, and you have a rapport with them. When I walk in the room and I see George Clooney, he says, "Hi, Kelly, how are the Chargers doing?" Like, he knows I'm from San Diego. He knows about me. Now, no misconceptions here. I can't pick up the phone and have George come join us on the couch.
I was going to say, you know, I'm around this weekend, and I don't know if George is around. But
I won't be invited to their wedding, you know, nothing like that. But there's a familiarity where if we were to be out, if I were to be out at a restaurant eating somewhere, a lot of these people would recognize and have a conversation.
Do you think that opens up a little bit more of like, almost a little bit more rapport as like you get to know them? So like an interview 10 years from now could be almost like more captivating than one if you meet them for the first time. Do you think
absolutely? And I think a lot of that has to do with the environment that we live in now, with everyone having a cell phone that captures video, with a lot of the more paparazzi type journalism. I think that it's definitely a comfort level, right? When you sit down, and I know I've seen this person for the last 5 years, I know that they're good at what they do. I know that they have had job security and an outlet that enjoys what they talk about, and I know that I would hope that they know that my purpose is to help them, you know, promote their brand, or to tell my audience that they made a poor decision this time around and that they shouldn't see a film. But at the end of the day, it's not to, you know, be salacious and try to pull them down or drag parts of their life and bring it to the forefront that they don't necessarily want to talk about.
That's a really interesting thing. I think that them knowing and being comfortable that you're not trying, like if there's something in the media that they did, or if, you know, like the cheating on, you know, that so your perspective, you're really about highlighting them and like showing all the good about them and the struggle or in the journey. But I'm trying to think of like some reporters almost that ask like the tough questions and like the Barbara Walters or something.
And rapport works both ways, right? So because I see them again, I treat them like a friend. So if you're a journalist and you are just interviewing somebody, you're a one-off, right? I'm just interviewing Matthew McConaughey for my first time, and I'll probably never interview him again. Your questioning can be more crass because you may never see this person again. And if he walks out of the room, you don't care because your job's not on the line, right? Where when I'm going to see them over and over again, I'm not going to come in and ask you about a miscarriage. I'm not going to come in and ask you about, I'm not going to ask
why my beard has not grown, and I've been working out for 7 years. 7 years of work.
I might ask you that. But I'm not going to ask Joaquin Phoenix what it felt like the night his brother River died, right? Some people still go back and they try to ask these questions because they think it's somehow going to provide something that will sell, you know, a show or a magazine article. Those are conversations you have with your dearest friends. Now, if
different intentions, almost different outlets for it.
If they choose to open up about that, we mentioned Joaquin, and I had an experience. He did a film called Reservation Road, and it dealt with the loss of a child, and it dealt with alcoholism. Two things that he knows very well: loss and substance abuse. And I'm not going to go straight up and ask him about these things, but if I tie things back to the film and I say, you know, your character has an issue with substance abuse, he went into chat rooms to help him, you know, have healing. What advice or what have you learned in this movie that could help others that have substance abuse problems? So not only is that a comfortable space for him because he can base it completely on research or things that he's done, or he can take it personal and he could say what he did say. What I've found when I've had struggles is X, right? So he's making the decision, how well do I know Kelly? What do I think her intent is? Do I choose to go personal or do I choose to stay on the surface level? But it all comes down to questioning, right? Am I going for the jugular or am I giving him outs? Am I giving him options to pick where he wants to go? And I prefer options. You'll always get a better response.
Yeah, it just seems like why not like be in rapport with people and I don't know, highlight the good. I mean, I guess it's just. So what I'd love to do is the reel that I saw when I first met you. I'd love to play some of that and just to
Absolutely.
show Kelli in action and just to show the highlight reel. So let's roll that up.
I'm Kelli Gillespie in Cairo, Egypt, overlooking the Nile. Comic-Con may bring out the stars, but it's truly the fans that make it a great event.
The way that they played football at that time, it looks really painful.
They're just grabbing your face.
When you look back at your life, was there one moment where you felt like, you know, it's kind of clicking and you got it, or is it a continual figuring out process?
I think it's continual.
I'm gonna get in this roadster right now. Let's see who our stunt driver is. Oh my God, Cameron Diaz. Hi. So this is so exciting. Now I understand. I'm gonna be in good hands with you.
Oh, so close. So close.
That's close, man.
So close.
By the way, next time.
I'm not giving up. Never. I'm not giving up. Never.
Next time. Yeah, thank you. Really appreciate it.
Great job.
Thanks, Tom.
Great job.
Almost got him. This close, guys.
Go ahead, Kelli.
Mike, here's a crux of the issue I think that we're facing is that technology is ever changing. And the studios, we saw it with the music industry who handled it pretty poorly because they ended up punishing the consumer. We're seeing it in TV. They need to figure out some way to embrace the new media.
Kelli in San Diego, you get so old. Soon I'm gonna be 55.
You are not.
What happens when you're 55?
We get more discounts.
That's right, we get more discounts.
This is something to look forward to.
Oh, thank goodness.
Yeah.
Okay,
There's light
never
in the
mind
tunnel.
any of that stuff.
There is light.
Kiss me. See? Now that was not rational, and yet she did it.
You've had a colorful background. What are some words of
Colorful
Well, when I was looking up all the prisons that Danny's been in, I'm kind of scared to be standing next to him.
5 different penitentiaries. You've had a colorful background, yeah.
Check this out. You may think I'm in SeaWorld, but I'm not. I'm actually halfway around the world in Bora Bora feeding a stingray. Look at these guys.
I can say hi to all the Wilkinsons in San Diego.
Please do. That's your family in San Diego? Do you ever get to come down?
Oh, I go there all the time.
Meryl, incognito.
Flying Continental out of Newark. Direct.
Let's go jump in the front of the car.
Let's do it.
Let's do it. We made it. We're in the back of the car now. Parade's just about to start. Do you guys got your beats?
I know you guys are friends, and with him being the director and you getting that fight, I thought, I wonder if in the back of his head he's like, for that suit you made me put on again, or little things like
by
that.
the way, there are that scene used to be significantly longer.
I know you used to carry a sketchbook around with you. When you come to an event like Comic-Con, where there's so many people passionate about different things, does that like fuel your interest? Or
Oh, yeah. No, I always keep my...
you got it with you?
No, but I always...
Look at that. Can we see an image? Something secret?
I saw this person.
You saw this person at Comic-Con and you just sketched it down.
Yeah.
I'm in Salzburg, Austria. I'm all harnessed up because I'm about to jump from this rooftop to that rooftop. I'm here with stunt coordinator from Night and Day, Greg Schmers, and he is going to help me do this, and I'm really excited. So let's give it a shot. You guys ready?
All right, here we go.
Here we go.
3, 2, 1.
Woo! Love it! That was great!
One of the things that I was reading that I thought was so interesting is that when you were making this, you were actually able to see, like if I was an avatar, you'd be able to see what it looked like right then and there rather than having to wait until post to see something like that.
I had my virtual camera.
Although it looks like I'm deep in a tropical rainforest, I'm actually on one of the amazing sets of the latest Indiana Jones film from Steven Spielberg and George Lucas. Hey guys, I cannot believe this. I'm in the Walt Disney Animation Studio and I'm downstairs. I'm getting ready to voice over a character for the new film Bolt. I can't believe it. It's the scene where Bolt and Rhino, he's the hamster and the ball, they get together. Well, just see how I did. Take a look. Let it begin!
Well, with script in hand, I tried to get comfortable to do the first read-through as Rhino, opposite Bolt, voiced by the superstar John Travolta. I just kept trying to remember, hey, this is his first animated feature too. Well, unlike most recording sessions, since the film is finished, I was able to watch the clip while I was actually voicing the character. Once finished with the lines, the sound team syncs it up and plays back the finished clip. Well, I hope I make the cut. Here it is.
The road will be rough.
I have a ball.
There's no turning back.
Guess I'll have to roll with the punches.
Easy won't be part of the equation.
Promise?
Gotta warn you, going into the belly of the beast, danger at every turn.
I eat danger for breakfast.
You hungry?
Starving.
Welcome aboard.
For San Diego 6 in the morning, I'm Kelli Gillespie.
All right, so pretty crazy. I mean, some amazing, amazing people. And so who?
All over the map,
All
right?
over the map. I know. Like, so who comes to your mind when you think of just like such a fun interview?
Will Smith.
Will Smith.
Will Smith, hands down. He is exactly who you get. He is Fresh Prince of Bel-Air meets Academy Award winner, right? Like, he can have you laughing and crying in the same sentence. He just is so personable.
Yeah.
And just, he has it. Like, whatever it is, you just are drawn to him and you just want to spend more time. I can never have enough time with Will Smith.
How about someone that, or an interview that was like maybe it was like the nervous feeling? I mean, maybe from getting started in the beginning, or just someone that was like, oh boy, this is gonna be a tough one or something like.
Meryl Streep was one for me, actually. I just respect her so much. I don't think there's anyone that has more hardware on their mantle than she does. And so going in, I just thought, how could this be? She plays some icy characters. She plays some very warm. And so I was super prepared and just thought, okay, no matter what, like, we're going to make this go well. And she could not have been nicer. It was actually great because I had my parents with me. One of the fun things, we were traveling in New York, and my parents were there, and I said, why don't you just come stand in on the back of the interview? Of course, they'd love to see her. And we're sitting there, and to start off the interview, because that's not very...
No pressure, just mom and dad.
Yeah, and that's not typical, right? Probably not even invited most of the time. But she was sitting there, and so the first thing she says is, who are these people? And I'm like, oh, great. What am I doing, right?
Mom, you want to come in and say hello?
And I said, actually, those are my parents. And we're in town, and we just thought they sitting on the interview. And she stops, and she goes, that is the cutest thing that I've ever seen. And I think it helped me just because people have different dynamics with their families, right? And to be like the age that I am and to still have my parents like proud watching what I'm doing. It's not like I'm 8 years old in a school play, and so it really helped like warm up the whole room, and she did a great job. And then she loosened up. She actually has family that lives in San Diego. So she did like some special shout outs to them. And she just had a way to kind of make the room turn and be real warm as well.
It seems like I don't know, I guess I just kind of figuring all this out as I go, but it seems like if you could like almost build rapport in the beginning, like that would make everything a little bit easier. Is there anything that you would actually do or recommend for someone that has like a podcast show or that does interviews? Is that something that would, like, from a flow perspective, like, is there any formats or like how you look at doing the interview? Like, what's kind of your strategy and like how to pull things out? Is it you just go with the flow and like you have like an idea from some research? Or
I think the biggest thing would be to go prepared, to know where you hope the interview goes, but to be open to it taking a completely different form. And most of the time, when you're open to it taking a completely different form, it's 10 times better than you could have ever expected, right? And I think within that, for me, I don't always, but depending on how much time I have, I'll start with more stuff that I know that they like talking about and are comfortable talking about, and then branch it into maybe some deeper or harder questions. Not mean questions, but when you're getting into conversations about, you work all the time, you made 8 movies this year, how do you separate, your acting identity with who you are as an individual? That's
deep,
that's
right
a heavier
there.
Question, right? Like, that's going to take a little bit of thought.
Say it again?
Yeah, you want to be a little warmed up. You want to, and I want them to answer these questions. But I don't want them to just say, oh, that's too deep for 2 minutes, right? So I think that, and then for me, I do always try to tie personal information back to whatever content that I'm seeing, especially in film or reading a book. If I know I want to go somewhere that might be a little bit more personal that I'm not sure if they want to share, I'll try to pick a nugget out of the film that I'm seeing. Like, one of the messages that just kept hitting me was the importance of integrity. Like, when you work in an industry where it seems like there isn't any integrity, how do you maintain it in your own life? Or can you? And then kind of let them go out on it, right? But you wouldn't just walk in and be like, Nick, we're talking integrity today.
Give me everything you got, and integrity, get 30 seconds.
So I think But I think one of the biggest things that people don't do, especially new interviewers, is listen to what's being said.
Yeah.
They're
almost like always kind of trying to like think of what the next one is.
You're either
it's
nervous.
almost like that in regular conversation too.
It
It's
is.
like whether it's a relationship or just with business people, it's like you're talking, you can hear them just like they're glazed over and they're just like waiting for their turn.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think that some of the best interviews come out of listening and then asking the follow-up question that leads to something that you couldn't read anywhere because they haven't really talked about it before. And then that's better than anything else that you could have read and then had them kind of retell a version of that story.
Okay. How about Facebook creeping for research? Good idea, bad idea?
I think it depends on who you're doing that to.
Yeah.
If they have complete control of their own Facebook page, one of the biggest things, obviously, within the celebrity world is misinformation, right?
Yeah.
Rumors sell. So if I'm going to ask something that I've seen, unless I know that it is, Kate Hudson's personal Facebook page or her Twitter page, and she's sending those tweets out, and it's not other people contributing, then I'm not going to bring it up. But a lot of them do. Jon Favreau, he comes down to San Diego all the time, and he'll tweet things out, and he'll respond back to you, and you'll that's the way to stay fresh and up to date on what he's doing.
Yeah.
A lot of people use social media as a form of communication with their fans. It's just you want to be careful if you're hitting on anything that might not be true.
Yeah. Okay. And I think one thing that's interesting is that about like almost on the networking side, it's like how do you add value and how do you get the right interviews or how do you get the folks on the cover of these magazines and even a situation like this, how could I try and like make this something that would be valuable for you, and I still have to basically prove that to you. We're kind of came from the same area, from mutual, being at the same church thing. That was kind of like the connection that worked on this. And then you're pretty much just being nice to do it, and to share the message. But like when but in a lot of situations, you've got to almost position the value. So how do you score, the celebrity that's busy, or, in my case, it's like the entrepreneur that, doesn't want to do interviews or things.
I think reputation plays into it. So as you're around more and you build, and we know that this magazine, TV station, podcast isn't a fad, then people respond to longevity. And I think also doing your homework and being smart about what the person you're going after has on their plate. So if you're going after an athlete and they're in season right now, it's probably going to be a little bit harder than off season. But if you're going for a celebrity or an author and you know that they have a film or a movie coming out, you know that they're going to be on that publicity train and needing to promote or wanting to, because if they've just written a book, they feel like they have valuable enough information that they could fill 200 pages and sell it to you. You're providing a platform for them to do that in a more personable way. And I think that they'll understand that around certain times.
Okay.
When maybe there's promotion involved or a way for them to share a side of themselves that's not normally shared too. I think if you're always looked at, if it's the Duck Dynasty guys and they're always, Duck Dynasty, if you're giving them a platform to talk about who they are outside of their family members,
outside of the beard, or behind the beards, or
behind the beards,
like.
then they're interested in that too, because it's a different side of them that they get to share.
And what about are there any things that you've done to reach out to get the interview? I mean, in your world, is it reaching out to their publicist or things, or is there have you had to do anything kind of funky to get the interview?
Yeah.
Mail something in or
it's a combination of both. I'm in a unique situation because I do print and television. That when actors are promoting a film, I can multi-purpose material or extend my time. But if we're just doing a cold call, I would like to get Carrie Underwood for our cover. Then I'm just picking up the phone and calling her agent and hoping I get a response and trying to be as creative to set myself apart without, in my opinion, feeling too cheesy and desperate, like we can't get other people, so we're doing that. It's a fine line to play. It's a fine line to play.
To kind of, you know, like, you can't seem like desperate in that mode, you know.
Yeah.
Like, does it help to leverage like the other, you know, stars that you've interviewed and all those kinds of things? And
Absolutely.
How do you weave that in, like, in the outreach? Like,
most of the time.
Or do you just say, "Do you know who I am?"
No, that never works. If it's through email, then I will list like people that are like them that I think, you know, that they would find interest in. And if it's by phone, then I'll talk about other people that either I know that they've done projects with before, so they would feel comfortable. Hey, why don't you call Mark Burnett? I know that you've done a film with him before, and he was a cover for us. And so then they can gauge from a, you know, any type of referral business service, where if you've had a friend that's been involved in it, or somebody that you know that is professional and has a certain level of class, and they're allowing their image and name to be used, then you think, okay, this probably is all right for me to be part of too. Nice.
Okay. And then how about just for a little shift in gears, like thinking about, one thing is, you know, just by how we, you know, met, you know, we're a keynote speaker at this Pathfinders, which is, you know, for entrepreneurs, but it was put on by the church that I go to. And so I'm like, I was, quote, saved like this past December.
Awesome.
So I'm like, and I grew up like Roman Catholic and stuff. And, but it's wild what's happened like in my life. Like it's been the craziest experience. And what I'm finding is I'm just kind of like, I'm like the newbie that's just like excited about it. So I'm just kind of delving further and getting more involved. And life has just changed so much. Like I study personal development, do all these different things, but like having faith in my life has created radical change. And so what I'd love to talk about is about faith for you and like the impact that's had in your life or business, and just I guess how that's guided or led to your life on fire.
Yeah, I can't imagine not having a relationship with the Lord and being in the business that I'm in. I can't imagine doing anything in life actually not having a relationship with the Lord, but especially within my field, which tends to be very superficial, very vain, about self-promotion, all of these things that are I. And then you're teaming up with people that are doing that on an even more profound level, right? There's not very many people in the whole world that don't know their name. And so for me, it just comes back to knowing who I am versus what I do. And so for me, my identity is tied to Christ. Whether I do another interview again, whether I'm ever on TV, whether I, you know, talk to a celebrity, that doesn't change who I am. It doesn't change that Jesus loves me and that he has a plan and a purpose for my life. And he shifted it from sports to entertainment, and I thought sports was going to be the end all be all, right? And now I'm getting to travel the world and meet all the influencers that do my job in different cities, and then on top of that, who have the biggest platform, which I feel is the feature film market, right? That's where people are emulating what is being said and wearing and acting, and so to have access to that, but to still be fully aware that that is something that is of this world. And most of the time, those individuals that don't have Christ in their life are still searching for more. You think, how do you have all that money, all that fame, all that power, and you're still unfulfilled? Like, what does that leave for the rest of us?
That's so interesting, because it's almost like, I mean, everyone from being a kid at some point in our lives, like if we're just on it, everyone has, I feel like, has dreamed of being that star, that celebrity.
Sure.
And that's just an interesting, I think, topic of what do you see where people have achieved that greatness or the celebrity of what everyone wants? And is it interesting to see, like, from like a happiness perspective, like, you know, are there a lot of people that have all that and they aren't happy, or what's kind of like the happiness meter at that level? You know what I mean?
Well,
like,
it goes back to, like you were saying early on, it's because we all have a God-shaped hole in our heart, right? We all have this sense of longing, of wanting to feel significant, of wanting to feel like I am here for a purpose. What is that purpose? And then wanting it to be highlighted, right? And so I think as people step into their sweet spots, and it's different for everybody. Some person it's going to be being a heart surgeon. For another person, it's a teacher. For another person, it's being at home with their children and raising the best kids that they can, and knowing that they're doing that over somebody else. But I think whenever you have, Nicholas Sparks said it best, the author, and has had several of his books turned into movies. He said, "You are who you are, and whether you have money, fame, or power, when you get that, you're just the same person, except for it's amplified, right?
Yeah.
So if you're generous when you have nothing, you're going to be most likely generous when you have a lot, because that's something that you've developed and you've worked hard to do. If you're mean and you're cutting, people off the grocery store line because you can't wait for
road raging.
Yeah, then you're gonna be that same, throw those same temper tantrums and antics.
That's a great way to look at it, because some people have just that money is the root of all evil mentality and that lack, and really, like, I love that, because if you're a good person, and hey, if you're an entrepreneur or you've got a great career, either way, it's like, that's a great platform to give back and to do more. And so it's not, it's definitely not a negative, but that's just really interesting to think about, purpose, and like how, God and faith has played that role in purpose for you.
And I think to answer your question earlier, I think the newer you are to the industry, the more like fragile / insecure you are, so your behavior isn't that great.
Yeah.
Where the bigger celebrity that you are, the roll off your tongue, household names, Matt Damon, Tom Cruise, those guys are so secure in who they are that they then are okay if a movie tanks, or if one does awesome, or if Angelina Jolie decides that she was, going to go to Africa and donate money to charity, because they are able to separate their identity from their work, because they know that they're talented and they'll get another job. And they're using their platforms, most of them, for what they feel, whether you agree with it or not, is good. And I think that's the biggest, one of the biggest things to think about is what have I been designed to do? Am I fulfilling that? And now that I'm here, am I doing what I should be doing? Am I being responsible with the platform that I've been given? We talked about social media earlier. If you have 15 followers on Twitter, that's a platform, right?
Yeah, an audience.
You have 15 people that care enough to hear what you have to say. If you have 15 million, if you're Vin Diesel and you have 69 million followers, I hope you have something to say. And I hope it's positive most of the time, right? Because those people care so much about what you're talking about. And so I think for me, my prayer life, my reading of the Word, surrounding myself with people that are all like-minded was huge, because especially I would think in any area where those three things are key, power, fame, and money, lines blur very quickly, because it's not a concept. It's not like, well, Nick, for $500,000, what would you do if this happened? It's like the money is sitting right here.
Yeah.
What are you going to do? I can either push it this way and you can take the role, but you're going to have to take your clothes off, or you can wait 2 more years and see if somebody else wants to take a chance on you. And
That's
it's like,
crazy,
those are the decisions where you have to go back to your convictions and say, who am I? What has God created me to do? And then remember that God, if He has created you to do that, and that's a desire of your heart, He is not a mean God. Like that's what He wants you to do. And He's going to open doors so that you can continue to do that, right? He might shift doors or change doors, but walking with Him is always going to be more exciting and better than trying to do it on your own, right? And so I think that's the biggest thing for me. I really gained confidence in the fact of knowing I work in an industry where I could be too old, I could be blonde and they want a brunette, I could be too tall, I could, my voice could not be exactly what they want. Everything's so subjective, right? That I have to know and believe that this is where God has called me to be right now, and He can remove me in a heartbeat, or He can keep me there too. So I'm not pleasing an audience. Like, I want to do a good job because I'm called to do a good job. But at the end of the day, I'm answering to Him. And if I'm And if I am doing what the Lord asked me to do, I'm walking in good faith that he's going to continue keeping me where he sees best fit for me. He might decide that I'm no longer needed in this industry, right?
Yeah.
And move me somewhere else. Or he might say, oh, you've done excellent with the amount of responsibility I've given you. I can put this on your shoulders now because I know you're not going to break, right? And so to me, that's exciting. It's like, okay, I've seen you give me this little bit and I've been able to do this. And now I can tell you're starting to give me more, or I can see that I can't handle having all of this and I need more boundaries in place so that I can handle it and not, you know, end up a story that doesn't have a good ending.
And then, so cool. And so on that kind of, I guess, personal note and faith, so you recently got married?
Yes.
And so share the same faith and everything?
Yeah, absolutely.
And so what's interesting is I'm in that similar boat with like Megan. I've never had a relationship that's like God-centered love. And it's crazy. It's a whole different ballgame. So like just a quick, you know, note on that. I mean, what's that been like and having?
For me, it's been amazing. I would date people here and there, but you know, I have a super interesting job. It pulls me in a lot of places, and I never used that as a crutch.
Yeah.
I just couldn't find. I could meet a lot of good people, but not somebody that I felt like could be my partner in life that shared the same beliefs and values and core that I do. And I cannot stress the importance of that enough. I mean, obviously I'm like 9 months into marriage now, right? So it's still very much like fun and good. But to know that we have the same foundation, that we can pray about things, you know, we're in the process of looking for a house and we can share those struggles and say, okay, here's what's important. Let's ask the Lord where he wants us to live or what that's going to look like. And just having the same kind of foundation, then no matter where a fight goes or where excitement goes, it's all coming back to I know where we're starting. I know our level playing field, and it's just I've been able to accomplish so much individually, right? Like I think there's something to be said for enjoying your singleness and being able to take that time where you're going to have more time than you ever have in your entire life and utilizing that. But now it's like so much richer and fulfilling that I've been able to do that, and then now have a partner that supports me in everything that I do, and me him, and just see how together we're even stronger than we were individually. And it's like I thought I was pretty good individually, so this is great.
Isn't it amazing when the right person and how it accelerates growth versus like, you know, like if you're dating the wrong person, it's like sometimes they're the anchor, or it's like it's volatile, and then the right person and it's amazing. So I think it's cool. Like, you know, we typically don't talk much about like faith on this, but I'm just so darn excited about like what's happening, and whether it's Christianity or whether it's meditation. I think at the end of the day, it's spirituality, you know, to have that, because I think that as humans, we are wired that way, that we want to feel like there's a purpose in our lives and significance and meaning, and really getting in touch with that. And so it's really cool to just, you know, to hear about that, and looking forward to doing more of that. Yeah. But so before we wrap up, a couple quick things. One would be, what are you excited about just moving forward? Like whether it's a project or something coming up, and then I want to just share how people can connect with you, and then we'll wrap up.
I think I'm most looking forward to the way that celebrities have been responding to the magazine. I think a lot of the things that you've been hitting on, this idea of being able to go deeper and share who they are and just have real conversation that could in turn make a difference in somebody else's life. So I'm really excited to see where the Lord will take the magazine within the next couple of years. And I'm excited to see kind of what my role will continue to be within that. And then with the television side, seeing just how they continue to blur more and more, and we're getting access to things that we haven't been able to. And one final thought within that is, also remember as an interviewer, because I think sometimes that this gets lost, that you have a profound impact on the person that you're interviewing, right? Yeah. So you get all focused and you're like, I'm going to go talk to them because this is what they have to offer. Yeah. But by the questions that you're asking that force them to think about different things in their lives, just to the warmth of the room.
Seeds, and it's
absolutely. And I think there's been so many times where things have sat maybe a little bit longer with somebody than they thought. And when I've seen them later, they've brought it up and said, you know, I wanted to update you on what's happened since then, which to me, there's no greater compliment than that, to know that, hey, you know, maybe that helped them start thinking in a direction that needed to be explored a little bit more. And all the yes people in their life aren't allowing them to think about that. So I just think the more lives that I can come in contact with and either impact or use their stories to influence others, it excites me.
Yeah, that's awesome. That's super cool. And how can we help and support you? I know, you know, for most of our guests, they're entrepreneurs. We're like, all right, we'll go follow them on Twitter and do these things. But you know, you're super busy and you're, you know, in your track. I mean, is it you know, checking out the magazine, or is it, you know, connecting with you somewhere, or?
Yeah, you can do either of those. You can go to risenmagazine.com and you can subscribe to the issues, quarterly issues, print or online, and it's a way to kind of just see what some of the influencers of the world are doing in a very positive light. Or you can, I'm KelliGillespie.com. You can follow me on Twitter or Facebook if you want, if that seems like an easier way to have access to both sides of things. But yeah, I would just encourage people to read and see how others are making it through life and what they're doing, because there's a lot of good nuggets within there.
I love it. And I love the way that you're diving in and how you're highlighting people. And I think that it's definitely something that to explore and to check out. lifeonfire.com, and grab the show notes. And we're going to have a whole summary of this episode, and also, you know, how to connect with Kelli. And then just the last thing before we wrap up, 2 questions. One is kind of, do people ever ask you how they've done after an interview? Or like, you know what I mean?
No.
Like, I've heard, I don't know where I hear this, but like Oprah does an interview with someone and then they look at her in the end, they say, how'd I do? And I'm like, you know what I mean? I don't
I don't think that I'm big enough for
well, how did I do?
You did excellent. Very conversational. I think the biggest thing is just, you know, to make sure you're having a conversation first, right?
Yeah, be like a normal person.
Forced. Yeah. Yeah.
And then the last one is just, what's one thing that most people don't know about you? Could be,
oh my goodness.
Could be a weird skeleton in a closet. Could be something funny, normal habits, hobbies.
Oh my gosh.
Just any old random factoid.
Maybe it, unless you knew me when I was a lot younger, that I was a pretty good basketball player, and I played junior Olympic ball, and I loved it. I wanted to play basketball all the time, and then as I got a little bit older, I was like, I don't know that I can make a career out of this. There are a lot of really talented people.
Know who to call for a pickup game.
I don't know about it anymore. My horse game is scratchy now.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much. It's been a lot of fun. And guys, lifeonfire.com, and grab the notes, connect with Kelli, and definitely grab Risen, the magazine, and see what's going on. So you guys have a great rest of your day, and this is just another reminder to just follow your passion, follow your heart, and to do what you love and live a life on fire. We'll see you guys.
I'm here to help you set your life on fire.